guys, welcome back to my channel and thank you so much for watching. So in today's video I have created a kind of like summery sunset smoky eye. I actually saw a video that Jacqueline Hill created maybe like last year and I was in love with the colours, and if you know me, you know I'm like obsessed with her. And also I got loads of new Makeup Geek eyeshadows. I will be doing a haul. But yeah, I just wanted to play around with these eyeshadows and I love the kind of look that she done. So she kind of inspired me to create this look today. So I really hope you like it, and if you do want to see how I got this look, then just keep on watching. Hey everyone, welcome back. So I have already applied a light layer of foundation. I haven't done anything different, so I didn't bother to include it as that's boring, but I will link my foundation routine in the description box below. So firstly, I'm going in with a concealer, and this will neutralize any of the discoloration. It will just add a nice base. You can obviously go in with an eye primer if you want your eyeshadow to last, but I was literally just filming this and then taking it off, so I didn't need to. But obviously go in with like soft ochre paint pot or something like that if you want it to last all day and all night. And you always want to set that with a powder, whether that's a nude eyeshadow or just your regular face powder. You always want to set it in place because it will make it so much easier and smoother for your next eyeshadow. So for the first eyeshadow, I'm using, of course, Peach Smoothie by Makeup Geek. And you probably know by now that this is such a nice transition colour. It just adds a little bit of warmth to the eyelid. It just makes your next eyeshadow blend so much easier. So I really pack that on all over the natural crease of my eye and slightly above as well. So you can see I'm following the natural crease of my eye, and I'm using a Morphe brush. I can't remember the number. I'll either link it on the screen now or I will link it down below, but it's a nice big fluffy brush so it can kind of diffuse the colour all the way across my crease. So I did want the colour to be a little bit more pinky. This step is totally it's unnecessary basically, but I thought I would obviously include it in case you were wondering. It is a limited edition eyeshadow by MAC, but I will link a similar one below. And I just basically wanted it to be a little bit more pinky, as I love the colour pink and orange together, especially in the summer. I think they work really nicely together as eyeshadows, and I'm putting that in exactly the same place. So to add a little bit of warmth to the eye, and as I said before, I really like these two colours together. It really creates that kind of sunset effect. So I'm using, I think this is Chickadee again by Makeup Geek, and I'm using that a little bit lower in the crease. So it just adds a bit more definition and again adds a bit more warmth, and you can sort of see that gradient from orange to pink. And I wanted a little bit more depth to the eye. I kind of just mixed these two together. This is Cupcake and Mango Tango maybe, and I just added that in exactly the same area. And remember guys, you don't have to use all of these colours. I just love layering eyeshadows. It's totally up to you, but I like to give you every option so you can sort of adapt it to your own sort of style. And then to add a little bit more depth, I did lose some of the footage of this bit, which is why I've obviously all of a sudden gone a little bit darker. But this is Cocoa Bear again by Makeup Geek, and I just added that in the crease of the eye, but that is optional. It looked really nice and pretty before, but if you wanted to make it a little bit more sort of nighttime appropriate, then you can just add a darker shade right in the crease of the eye, just below those eyeshadows. So as you can see, I'm now applying in the spotlight. This is also by Makeup Geek, and I think it's one of their foiled eyeshadows. And I'm using a MAC 242 brush to apply this, and I'm sort of carving out the eyelid as well. So you can see I'm going right up to the natural crease of my eye and basically just following that line. Okay, so I'm going to come back to the eyes in a second, and I'm going to move on to skin. So I added a light layer of foundation to add more coverage, and I'm now using MAC Mineralize concealer in NC25. This is a really nice hydrating concealer, so throughout the day it does get a little bit more dewy on me. If you are more dry, this will be a great concealer, but I love using it to highlight because it's very lightweight. So I put that on any of the high points that I want to highlight and bring forward, and I like to blend that out with a sponge to really diffuse the product and sort of pick up any excess product as well. And I always make sure that the sponge is damp, as it will pick up any excess product as well. And for my underneath concealer, I'm literally losing my train of thought, but I am using NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer in the shade Custard, and this will add more coverage underneath the eye. As you can see, it's a lot thicker than the Mineralize concealer, so I'm using that on any areas where I might want a bit more coverage, but also it's in a lighter shade, so again it will slightly highlight underneath the eye. And again, I'm using that same damp sponge to blend it out. Don't you just wish you could do your makeup as quick as this? But I can't. So as that concealer does crease on me, I am using a setting powder to just set that in place, and this is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Contour Palette, and I'm using the two lighter matte shades to set that in place, and I'm making sure that I dab that powder. You don't want to swipe, as you may disturb any of the coverage that you have done, so you just want to dab it in place and just really press it in underneath the eye. For the rest of my skin, I'm using MAC Translucent Powder, and again I'm dabbing it so I don't disturb any of the coverage, and I'm using that all over the skin to add more of a matte finish. So to add warmth and a little bit of definition, I'm using my trusty MAC Mineralized Skin Finish in Dark, and I'm just using this around the sort of cheekbone area and on my forehead as well. And I also used that darker shade in the Anastasia Beverly Hills Contour Kit to add a little bit more definition, and as you can see it's a little bit cooler, so you can use that more in the contour area. So anywhere where you have that natural sort of shadow. Then if you feel like you go a little bit too low, or if your bronzer is a little bit too messy, this is a great trick to tidy it up. So use your setting powder just underneath to tidy it up and to sort of highlight that area as well. So as you can see, I am now highlighting, and I'm using a mixture of Champagne Pop and Opal. Obviously you do not have to use both of these highlighters. I just wanted that sort of contrast between the matte skin and the really highlighted cheekbones. You can use whatever works for you, do your skin however you would like. It's totally optional. So for underneath the eye, I am going in with the shade Americano. Again, by Makeup Geek. This shade is super pigmented, so you only need a small amount. So we're using this to define the bottom lash line, and you want to use a flat definer brush to really work it into the bottom lashes. So don't worry about it being blended, you just want to get the colour on there first of all. And then using a pencil brush and the shade Mango Tango, you want to buff out the bottom part. So you don't want to go right the way over it because you still want to keep the depth there, but just go back and forth and work quite slowly to make it a little bit more smoky. So I like it to be nice and blended under there, so take your time with it and just go in small sections from the outer corner sort of all the way just before the inner corner of your eye. So you can always go back in with the Americano if you feel like you've lost a bit of the depth. And then you want to hit right underneath that shade with Chickadee to add a little bit of warmth. You don't want to cover it up, you want it to sort of go from brown to the pinky shade to the orangey shade, so you've got a really nice gradient effect going on. So you can always build it up if you lose any of the colours, like I said. So for the inner part of the eye to add a highlight, I'm mixing Nylon by MAC and the same shade as the lid, which is in the spotlight, to add a really highlighted inner corner. This is obviously optional, but I like it to be quite glowy there, as well as underneath the brow. So I'm just using Nylon to do that, as I feel like it really completes the look and finishes it off and ties everything together. So to really open up the eye and add a nice contrast between the darker eyeshadow and the waterline, I'm using MAC Technical Liner in Risque. You can use whatever nude eyeliner you would like. You can go in with black or brown if you wanted to make it even more dramatic. So for lashes, I'm using Velour Lashes in Whisk Me Away. And of course I had to go back in with a blending brush, as I'm just obsessed with making my eyeshadows super blended. Yeah, moving on. So use whatever lashes you would like. You can either just use mascara with this look, that would look really nice and sort of pretty, but I wanted to add a little bit more depth. These lashes are a little bit more kind of like volumized, if that's a word. They're not too long, so they work quite nicely with my eye shape, as my eyelids are quite small, so I can't go in with super long lashes, as they do just kind of cover everything up. But yeah, it kind of looks like I'm wearing eyeliner because it's got a nice thick band as well. So for lips, as I always say, you can go in with whatever lip colour you would like, but I wanted a nice peachy colour to tie in with the eyeshadows. This is Kinda Sexy by MAC. I did want it to be a little bit lighter, so a nice trick is to go in with a concealer or a lighter sort of nude lipstick, and you can totally change the colour or the shade and make it a little bit lighter if you would like. I wanted it to be a little bit more of a peachy and nude, and then I finished that off with MAC Dazzle Glass. I think this is Sugar Rimmed, I can't remember, I will link the shade below. I love the Dazzle Glasses as they add a really nice like dimensional look as well. You can see they're really glossy. So once you've done that, you should be finished. I really hope you liked the look. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and please subscribe for more videos. Bye!